In the last video, I showed you how to configure hub and spoke manually on Fortigate firewall, but then there were many challenges. For example, you were supposed to manually manage the routing part and then the configuration of hub and spoke individually on the devices, and it creates a lot of burden on the administrator when you have a larger network and you have multiple spokes connecting to the Fortigate hub, which makes it impossible for any administrator to configure them efficiently. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can configure hub and spoke using auto discovery, Fortigate say ADVPN. So hub and spoke, hub will discover these spokes using the auto discovery and will utilize BGP as the routing protocol for advertising the protected network. For example, here in the scenario on my screen, Fortigate Hub will detect spoke 1, spoke 2, spoke 3, and subsequent spoke using auto discovery. And then the BGP protocol will help us advertise the inside network, which is going to be protected behind the spoke and behind the hub, so that you can have the efficient routing between the protected subnets. So on my screen, we have Fortigate Hub. Behind Fortigate Hub, we have the network 33.33.33.33/32. And we have, in this particular example, I'm going to show you how you can dynamically add spoke 1, spoke 2. So we have spoke 1, and the inside network is 11.11.11.11/32, configured on loopback interface. External interface is port 1, 192.168.03.06. And the reason why I have given the tunnel IP as 1.1.1.x is because we'll have to check the configuration on the hub to see what will be the dynamic IP address assigned to the spoke 1, spoke 2. So I've given it as X, but then I'll show you what would be the generated IP for spoke 1 tunnel interface and spoke 2 tunnel interface. So here in my scenario, spoke 2 is having port 1, 192.168.07. Inside network is 22.22.22.22/32. So let's get started with the Fortigate hub. And I'm on the version 7.2x. So this is the Fortigate hub. And inside the network, you can see I have port 1 configured, 192.168.0.108, and the loopback 33.33.33.33 as the inside network. This is the spoke 1, and you can see the IP address configured on port 1, 192.168.0.6/24, and on loopback 11.11.11.11/32, which is the inside network. Now coming to the spoke 2, which is not yet configured, I'm just going to show you the configuration on the interfaces. Port 1, 192.168.0.7/24, loopback interface 22.22.22.22/32. Exactly as per our diagram. So you can refer this particular network topology. I'll share the same in the description. Now we'll start the configuration from the hub. Click on VPN. Inside the VPN, click on IPsec wizard. We are going to use wizard to configure everything. which will then help us automate things and add the spokes dynamically. Let's try to name our hub as hub. Click on hub and spoke. And you can see here disclaimer, hub and spoke VPN will set up using auto discovery with BGP as the routing protocol. So this particular wizard will suggest us to configure hub first. So you can see here this disclaimer, it is recommended you set up the hub Fortigate first. So I'll name it as hub. I'll click hub, click next. Incoming interface is my exit interface on Fortigate hub, which is port 1. And pre-shared key. So you have two options here for authentication purpose. For phase 1, which is pre-shared key or RSA signature. So in my case, I'm going with pre-shared key. But if you have the certificate, you can add them here. Let's go with pre-shared key. Let's use password as pre-shared key. So we have the pre-shared key configured as password. Click on next. So the tunnel interface IP, what we are going to define here is 1.1.1.0/24. Let's try to configure tunnel IP as 1.1.1.1 on hub. And let's try to use subnet as 1.1.1.0/24. I guess we'll have to use the IP address here. Not sure about that. Okay, yeah. So we are going to use the remote IP as 1.1.1.2/24, which will again give us the liberty of assigning the IPs from the same subnet to spoke 1, spoke 2, 3, and subsequent spokes. Click next. So this is the BGP configuration part. By default, it is configuring the local ASI 65400, and I believe it is going to configure eBGP peering between the spoke and hub. So I'm going to keep it as 65400. Local interface is going to be your interface which is connecting your inside network. In our case, it is the loopback 11, 11, 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, 12, and 33, 33, 33, 33, which is configured on loopback. So I'm going to select that. When you select this, BGP will automatically create the configuration where it will advertise this particular network. So using the wizard will help you automate few things and complete the configuration faster than how you configure manually. And you can see here, the spoke one is automatically assigning the IP, but if you want, you can change this IP to any individual IP as well. So I'm going to change that IP to 1113 because we have given the next IP, I think, as 1.1.1.2/24. So now I'm going to add this particular spoke one, and in the subsequent configuration, I'll show you how you can scale the hub and spoke by adding multiple spokes later in the configuration, so that it'll be easy for you to understand how you can scale once you have the complete setup already there in place. So following should be reviewed prior to creating the VPN. So you will have to go ahead and check all the configurations that the IPsec wizard is applying to the Fortigate firewall for this particular hub and spoke. Click on create. So this is the configuration. So in the previous step, I guess there were address book created from my last attempt. So I have deleted all the address group and I have recreated the spoke one. So you can go through all the configuration. This is the phase 1, phase 2 interface to see and select the specific attribute that you would like to change. You can see here all the attribute, for example, network. Click on edit and you will see the phase 1 configuration. This is the pre-shared key that the IPsec wizard is trying to create, and phase 2 selector. Local is any, remote is any. This is the hub and spoke topology. Tunnel IP 1113.65400, local AS. So this particular VPN IPsec wizard will give you a key. You will have to copy this and then use this particular key on spoke while configuring the spoke on the remote devices so that it can communicate to hub. So once this is done, I'm going to copy this first. So now I have the spoke 1 key with me. As you can see, the wizard has created the tunnel with an interface as port 1. Status is inactive right now. You can click on edit to check all the configuration. So you can get the config key from the VPN tunnel configuration as well. If you click on edit, it'll show you the config key view and you can copy it from here. So now we'll review the configuration, what has been done by the IPsec wizard. So this is particularly for phase 1 and phase 2 for the IPsec. Just like the manual IPsec that we have created in the last step. So if you go to network, if you go to BGP, you will see that the local AS is set to 65400. Neighbor is set to 1113, which is going to be our spoke 1, since it has automatically assigned an IP for the spoke 1, 1113, 65400 remote AS. So I believe it is going to be IBGP peering because the local and remote AS are both same. And coming down to the network part, you can see here the 33, 33, 33, 33 is getting advertised from hub. So this particular configuration seems to be a little problematic because in the last attempt that I was doing with the IPsec visit, it actually configured the remote AS as 100, but I'm not sure why this particular time I see it as 65400. Might be the IPsec wizard, which is not efficient enough, or there might be some sort of bug with the IPsec wizard. But you can change the attribute here. If you want to have IBGP peering, you can have both the local and remote AS same. If you want to have EBGP peering, you can go ahead and configure it accordingly. So we'll go with the configuration what the IPsec wizard has done in this particular scenario. Coming down to the policy, click on firewall policy. You will see that the automated IPsec wizard created two policy, one from hub to hub, another one hub to loopback. This is for the inbound traffic to allow the traffic from spoke to hub. Now we'll go back to the spoke one. and we'll try to add spoke, which will then get dynamically added to the hub in the tunnel list. Click on VPN, click on IPsec visit, name it as spoke 1. Click on hub and spoke. This is going to be a spoke. We'll try to copy the same key. You can click on view, copy, come to spoke, paste this key. This will do the auto configuration for spoke. Apply, click on next. Remote IP is going to be 192.168.0.108. So it is taking the auto configuration 192.168.0.108. Outgoing port is going to be port 1 as per our diagram on spoke 1. And pre-shared key is going to be password, how we have defined on hub. Click on next. So as you can see here, the tunnel IP is automatically getting assigned using the auto configuration 1.1.1.3. If you want, you can change the tunnel IP, but then we'll have to adjust many configuration on hub and spoke as well together. Since we have applied that same key, so auto configuration is working fine and seems to be matching all the configuration on both hub and spoke. Remote subnet, as you can see, 1111/24, how we have defined on hub. Click next. As you can see here, the local AS is automatically defined as 65400, like on hub. This was again defined as 65400, but then you can change the attribute as per your need. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to go with the IPsec automated configuration, what it has applied to the Fortigate firewall. Local interface is going to be the interface, which is connecting the inside network. This is the protected network 11.11.11.11/32. Click on next, and you will have to review the configuration for phase 1, phase 2, and regarding the BGP. Click on create, and you can click on edit to change the parameter. Show tunnel list. As you can see, tunnel is already up because of the auto discovery. Let's try to verify the same on hub as well. You can see tunnel is up. Now we'll try to use some CLI command to check few statistics for IPsec phase 1 and phase 2 on hub and on spoke. This is the phase 1 configuration and the statistics. You can see the address of peer, .6 local, 108 hub. This is the spoke, IKSA, lifetime, direction, which is initiator, spoke is the initiator, status as established. Proposal you can see with the key, lifetime, and DPD. This is phase 2. You can see the inbound SPI value and outbound SPI value with the encryption standard and the encryption key, authentication key. And you can see the proxy ID, which is source any, destination any, and the receive and transmitted bytes packets. This proves that our spoke is automatically coming up using the auto configuration via the key that we have applied. Next comes the routing part. So spoke 1 should learn about the inside network, which is behind hub 33, 33, 33, 33. And BGP is going to help us here in this particular scenario. Let's try to first check the BGP status. This is on spoke. You can see the BGP neighbor as 1.1.1.1, remote as 65400, local as 65400, which means it is iBGP peering. Status as established, up. If you carefully check here in the routing table, you will see 33, 33, 33, 33 getting advertised by 1.1.1.1, which is our hub. Inside the network interface, if you check the tunnel interface, which is hub, you can see here the IP address 1.1.1.1. And on spoke, you can see here administrative distance of 200. So that means spoke 1 is aware of the network which is behind the hub using the BGP protocol, routing protocol. And on hub, you can check the same thing. So you can see here on hub, the IP address 11.11.11.11, which is the protected network behind spoke 1, getting advertised by 1113, which is the spoke 1 tunnel interface IP. So hub is aware of the inside network, which is behind spoke 1. So now you will have to add spoke 2 in similar manner. Let's try to do that on hub. And I'm going to show you how easy it becomes with the IPsec wizard. When you try to do hub and spoke, click on VPN, IPsec wizard, IPsec tunnel, because you already have the configuration, click on edit. Here in this particular scenario, you will see an add button here. Click on add. Tunnel IP is automatically getting updated, but then you can configure as per your need. I'm going to name it as 1114. I'm going to put the IPS 1114. Click OK. So 1114, this is the spoke number 2 getting added to the configuration. Click on view. Copy this particular key. Come to spoke 2. Spoke 2 IP addresses are already configured on the interfaces. Coming down to VPN, IPsec wizard. Name it as spoke 2. Hub and spoke, this is going to be a spoke. Copy and paste the same configuration key, which is going to add all the configuration to spoke 2. Now the configuration is applied. You will see remote IP already getting auto-configured 192.168.0.108, which is hub. Outgoing interface is port 1. And the password appreciate key is password. Click on next. Tunnel IP is automatically configured as 1114 because of the encryption, because of the configuration key that we have applied. But if you want, you can change it. Again, you will have to adjust all the configuration if you change this particular attribute here. Click on next. Local AS is already configured as 65400. Local interface is again loopback, which will auto update the subnet configured on loopback. If you want, you can add the subnets here, which will then be added to the BGP and will be advertised automatically. Click Next, Create. So now you can review the configuration and it is automatically bringing up the tunnel as well. So if you go to spoke 1, if you try to check the configuration inside the policy, you will see a security policy created from loopback to spoke 1, which is the outgoing. And this is from the spoke 1 to loopback, which is the incoming security policy to allow the VPN traffic. Similarly, on spoke 2, if you go to firewall policy, you will see the same thing, incoming and outgoing security policy via the VPN tunnel. And inside the network, you will see BGP adding the neighbor 1111, which is the hub. And if you come down, you will see the network 22222222, which is the protected network getting advertised automatically using the VPN wizard. And if you click on view routing monitor, you will see the routes that you have learned and you have advertised. So on hub, you have two dial-up connections, hub 0 and hub 1. Both are active. One is spoke 1, another one is spoke 2. Now let's try to check the connectivity from spoke 1. First, we'll check the route. We already have the route to 33, using the VPN from the same spoke 1 tunnel that we have auto configured on spoke 1. And you can see here I'm able to ping the subnet behind hub from spoke 1, 11.11.11.11 source. Coming down to spoke 2. Okay, this particular BGP state seems to be an active state. So let's try to figure out why is it in active state. Okay, seems like the neighbor was not added here. Using the IPsec wizard that we tried. So this is what happens when you try to add the spokes manually after you are done with the hub and spoke configuration for the first time. So you will have to go to network, go to BGP and create the neighbor manually. Okay, so now the configuration is applied. We have added the neighbor manually. Settings are applied. As I said, the wizard is not capable enough to add multiple things. When you try to scale the hub and spoke after you set up the hub and spoke for the first time, now this should bring up the BGP peer. As you can see here, BGP state is an established. 1.1.1.1 is hub. This is on spoke 2. This should feed us with the route. And you can see here, I'm learning the BGP route 11, 11, 11, 11 and 33, 33, 33, 33. And you can see I'm able to ping the subnet behind the hub from spoke 2. And you can see that I'm able to ping the subnet behind spoke 1 from spoke 2. So I have communication for all the subnets defined, which is behind the firewalls. So this is how you configure the hub and spoke using ADVPN, which basically uses the auto discovery to detect the spoke as you configure, and it uses BGP for the route advertisement dynamically. That's all in this particular video. If you have any question, do leave them in the comment section. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.